Welcome. We are very welcome from India, Hong Kong, and here from Spain. We are delighted to have you all. But we always say that this is a very special event because we made it by our hearts, because it's voluntary work, because it's really the spirit that we hold from Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which I am a proud president from Spain. Today, we will have different members of WICCI, president from Hong Kong, two presidents from India, a consultant, and a designer, all of them from India. As I say, this is a special event, as all our events are, but today is even more important to highlight it. Last week, we were organizing full of joy and enthusiasm to see this wonderful event of our series on sustainability, in this case, sustainable fashion. But as we all know, in India had been hit by a terrible tragedy with COVID-19. So we decided not to cancel this event, but just to reshape it. Because if that goes with our values, that is the message we like to live for what we are and what our founder and leader, Dr. Harbin Arora, taught us. And we are learning every day what means empathy, what means solidarity, and what means to be together from our different initiatives. So this is a different event from the rest, but with the same strength, delivering the message that we have to continue. And we keep this energy for the one who believe is because it's that blessing to be a strength and to continue supporting others. For the one who don't believe, it does wonderful energy that keep you moving forward. So you are all welcome. We are going to have a brief conversation of 1 hour, but it will be absolutely enriched. So please, we have Hitendra here. Everything is voluntary, as I told you. So we do it all is done by ourselves. So I ask you also for your patience, for your tolerance, your generosity on all of the work we are doing and the efforts we are doing for this. We are going to start now with Shirley from Hong Kong. She's president of WICCI Hong Kong. And we are so glad to have her with us. I will let Shirley introduce herself because she also lived challenged in her own country, and she's very attached with India, as we are all. And I would like her to introduce you, and she will talk about what means sustainable fashion in terms of consumption. Please, Shirley, you are very, very welcome. Let me unmute this.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here, very honored to be here. This topic of sustainable fashion, particularly in lieu of what is developing in our dear sister country, India, is so particularly relevant. Before I start, I would like to express a very deep, heartfelt, and very earnest wish from my heart and also the hearts of all the fellow WICCI sisters in the Hong Kong India Council that our thoughts are with you. This will pass. We just need to be strong and vigilant, and we will prevail. So with that being said, I agreed to speak on this subject, sustainable fashion, not because I'm a fashion designer, but because I have been in the performing arts industry for my entire life. And I was one of the people who can be categorized as a normal, typical consumer of fashion, particularly if you think about artists, right? Artists typically have this mentality of more is better. The more accessories I own and the more pieces of clothing that I change into all the time, right? Sometimes in one performance, one character will change into a few pieces of costumes. And with that kind of glamour superficial glamour, right? And also the image that the film industry and the media that has been really perpetrating deep into our culture, our programming, subconscious programming. It is really difficult for us to develop that consciousness of how fast fashion has been polluting our environment, putting pollutants and like toxins into our water and everything else, and polluting the air even worse than the airlines do. So when I found out about the real impact of sweatshops and fast fashion, for example, in the big fire in Bangladesh in 2013, killing so many souls, mostly women. As we look at all the statistics about the fashion industry, where fast fashion is typically made, is usually in um, developing countries or in sweatshops, where women become over 80% of the workforce behind it, being underpaid, being treated ethically. So when I found out about that, when my consciousness started to emerge, I have realized that when we look at this whole COVID situation, when we look at where the world is going, when we are printing all kinds of things with 3D technology, when we are talking about how to preserve the earth, when the earth, Mother Earth, has reached a critical point of no return, how do we make such fundamental belief or culture of consumption also real happiness? Right? Because we've been so tuned to think that more can make us happy. The more accessories we own and wear, the prettier that we are. The prettier that we are, the more we're going to get. We already know that's not the case. So I think back at a few things, which is basically my message today that I want to bring about. How can we make fashion just like fur? If we all think about how fur, how long it took us and what it took us to get away from using real animal fur, right? How we catalyze that change. When we use our social media campaign power, as we have seen in the last couple of years, with all these Me Too movements, with the Black Lives Matter movements, things like that, how can we use our social media and influencers, really impactful influence, to catalyze this change of not thinking more will make us happier? That all the materials we buy, polyester, how can we have our artists? How can we have our musicians? How can we have our poets and all the public figures and the Hollywood stars? How can we have them campaign for us to make it to make fashion functionable? How can we create that movement? If we can hone into their power, their lead, making it fashionable, to be conscionable, to look at, for example, polyester. How can we refrain ourselves from using such a labor-intensive or a pollutant-intensive, detrimental, environmental um, agent? How can we say no to that? How can we go back to organic cotton or other alternative biodegradable materials? How can we catalyze that change as quickly as possible? So one is using social campaigns, influencers, and other thing is how can we educate our young people? How can we educate our teens and our children about the real impact of fast fashion? How can we put these images of the damages that we're creating with our fast fashion into their vision, into their awareness? Because we know that the Gen Z and our children, they are a lot more in tune to preserving the environment than the people of the oldest generation. So these are the two questions that I want all educators and politicians and moms and dads to really think about and do what they can. Each person can make a difference.
Wow. Bravo, Shirley. It was absolutely fantastic. No? Shirley, always she had the capacity in a few minutes to give the clue. No? And we had these different speakers that would tell us about that because you talk about sustainable practice, and Hitendra consultant from Indian government will talk about that, how we can do it. And also we have WICCI, and we have the Ministry of Design, their own company, but also committed socially, that will explain how we can do it. And you know what you have said, social media, how we can use this powerful tool to make a change, because that is also about what is WICCI, Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the different councils around the world. The idea is not to make charity, because we already had that. It's a way to implement action through social media, and that is our power. Thank you for taking this absolutely important aspect, Shirley. We are going to come back to you shortly, because this is a conversation. So you can do it in a Spanish style. I know, we are facing different culture, but you could interrupt here. I will not be, because you are not well educated. So don't worry. This is from Spain. So you are open to say you are not very disciplined, and we accept it. So now, if you are so kind, we have Lakshmi. Lakshmi is president of WICCI India. Thank you so much for being here, because someone from India that is here living all that situation, and you are with a smile, we trying to make your best all this week. I need to tell you all, she has been always concerned of to do the best, to say the best thing, what is the best message to say. She doesn't lose any moment enthusiasm and the will to make a change, because that is all about. Lakshmi is also, and with congratulations, she's global chair for All Ladies League Global, at the global level on business networking. So she have power. She have power to change. So yes, so take the responsibility. Lakshmi, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here despite everything. No. You are.
Apologies. Hola, Mar, and hola, Spain. It's an amazing opportunity to be here with all of you talking on sustainable fashion, which when I look back, when I think back, how do I start this topic on sustainable fashion from my end? I think as a culture biographer, I would like to go back to the human migration, which started many millions of years ago from basically human beings were cavemen and women, and then the weather changes in the environment where they lived kind of forced them to look for better weather, better geography, and then the slow migration process started. And as people were migrating, they had to actually confront the vagaries of weather, like the rains, the winds, the heat, the cold. And as we all know, we are one of those most gifted species, very creative, with a great right brain and the left brain activities. I think men and women out there, they became very, very creative and started using clothing in the form of leaves and animal hides and skins for many years. I guess, and I probably all of you would agree with me when I say that fashion kind of took it started off at this point of time in the human civilization as the migration started. Like, unfortunately, today we have the COVID also due to the human migration, but then everything is a package deal. And thank you very much, both Mar and Shirley, for your consideration, for your prayers, and your deep concern for India. I think this will also pass, soon. I think we are well as citizens. I think we are showing responsible behavior towards ourselves, and I think this will pass as the time flies, and very soon, sooner than later. Now, coming back to the fashion, if we actually look at some of the archaeological evidences which has been where people have dug in all parts of this geography of this planet Earth, be it the civilization in Egypt or the Sumerian or the Indic civilization, which spread not only in the subcontinent, it went beyond that. The Chinese civilization, we have found various evidences in the form of sculptures and various cave paintings of France and Ajanta Ellora in India, where people, men and women and children, are depicted wearing various kinds of attires. Their attires could be in terms of a clothing or in terms of a little stole, what we call stole, and a shawl wrapped around their necks. The women's clothing was a little different compared to men's, owing to the body shapes and the requirement of the functionality of things. If we look at those things, we definitely can see a great a connect, borrowing of ideas from those civilizations, where today's the modern designers, like I think Vaishnavi would agree with me on this, that we do pick those ideas, the collective memories, it keeps churning, it keeps going and going. So some of the dresses that we wear today, it has its origin in a civilizations which probably existed 10,000, 20,000 years before us. So having said that, I think it's great as a culture biographer to see these connects, the analogs, and also the little differences which keeps happening as we evolve as during the course of the time and during the course of the growth and evolution of human civilization. And I also would like to touch upon the point of bespoke items, that is bespoke and customized things. I think in those days, in the palaces, the queens and the princesses and the kings and the princes and people from the noble families, they did have their own designers, their own seamsters, and they created their own statement items, statement clothing, statement accessories, be it a headgear, be it an armlet, be it a leg, a piece of touring, or whatever you name it. I think there was a certain kind of couture, haute couture even then, and it exists even now. I really wonder when the concept of labeling came into being. I think today it's in, and today people pride in wearing clothes created by certain extremely creative designers. But for me personally, if I have to pick something, a piece of clothing or a piece of jewelry, I think I've come, the stage in my life is teaching me that it has to go back to where has this fabric come from? Has it come from, usage of those very dangerous dyes, the colors which is used to create these fabrics, and unfortunately our water bodies and the environment is getting disrupted with that, it's getting destroyed with that. There's so much of dissonance in the atmosphere because of these things. So I think when we talk of sustainable fashion, we must speak, and particularly the COVID times has taught us, less is more. We don't need too many things, honestly, to feel good, to have a great self concept and self worth. I think we need to have clothes which sustains for a longer period of time, and it can also be hand-me-downs. By this, what happens is we are going to discard less and less into the environment, creating less and less garbage in the environment. If all of us as individuals get into this kind of practice, I think it'll be a great way to sustain a fashion, whatever fashion we are talking about. Mar, I think I would like to pass on the baton to some of our extremely talented people from the industry who are there today.
Thank you so much. I told you the audience will know that they will not be defeated by Lakshmi. Lakshmi will give a wonderful speech, and also the recognition of her work and her words and her thoughts are there as a president of WICCI India, and from Spain we have very much to learn from you of what you are doing it. When Lakshmi proposed me to talk about this part of history, this part of ancestral aspect of fashion, I was absolutely fascinated, because sometimes when you need to see what you have to do, sometimes you just adapt it from the past, because on the past everything looks more natural, everything looks with less technology. Now we could take that spirit of nature and just nurturing with technology. So that thing, I think, is the best message we could leave from learning from the past. Thanks so much. You are part of the conversation, so keep there. Keep your phone mute and unmute, because you will be there. And now it will be time for our designer, our young leader designer. And you will excuse me for your name. I say Bash, but you know why I say Bash? I have to confess. I say it because I cannot.
Vaishnavi, it's Vaishnavi.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. You are going to say it perfectly. I'm going to continue telling you back, and you will excuse me for that. You will understand. It's part of our
You can call
interactive.
me Bala.
Bash, the floor is yours. Is a young leader on design. She will introduce herself the way she wants it, and also any reference that you would like to do, any message that you would like to send, or anything that you would like to contribute with this tragic situation in India. You are very welcome. This is your space. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Speak. We
Hi,
are
hi.
listening.
I'm Vaishnavi Bala, and I'm a fashion designer. So I actually launched my brand very recently, about a month ago. And my brand's all about street style and streetwear fashion for both men and women. So in today's time, actually, genderless fashion is something that's thriving because uh, I don't see people who differentiate between men and women. And I think it's much better for us to have clothing that's unisex in a way because we're breaking all kind of gender barriers, and also we're promoting to the idea that you can wear whatever you like to express yourself. And I'm here today to talk about sustainable fashion, about thrifting and upcycling. So I'd start by showing you a project that I did. So I'm actually a master's student from Domus Academy, Milan, and we had a project in collaboration with Vogue Talents. So what actually is sustainability? Sustainability is basically just using your things or creating things in a way that you save everything that you have for the future. So production, when it comes to even dyeing. So if you're using fabrics, you dye the fabrics with natural dyes. So in a way that's sustainable. There's no synthetic chemicals that's being used. So from the start process, from your raw materials to your end product, everything is done in a way that it's good for the environment. You're kind of save on your resources, and everything's sustainable. So here we did this project which is called Aeon, and Aeon means timeless. So basically, sustainable is something that is timeless, and in a situation like global warming that is ruining our world today, sustainability is the best mode to help us in the future. So for example, we have brands like Zara. So Zara is a Spanish brand, and it's very famous for its fast fashion. So fast fashion is something wherein you have clothes that change on a weekly basis. So the main USP of Zara is that every week they come up with new clothing, because of which if I'm a customer, I see, oh my god, I like these pants. But again, if I plan on buying it and saving up, maybe I'll buy it after a week. But again, when you go to Zara after a week, you don't see the same collection, you don't see the clothes kept in the same way, because of which a person's whole mental state is to think of it in a way that, oh, if you don't buy this right now, you can never buy it again because it might not be available. So that is how fast fashion works. And because of that, they produce a lot of clothing at one point of time, which increases a lot of chemicals, and it releases a lot of chemical dust into the environment, which is not good for us, which contributes to global warming. So then also there are gases that contribute to global warming that come from these industries that produce clothing. So as a sustainable designer, as someone who sustainable designing is basically creating clothes that are minimal and that can be used in a way that they don't cause any harm to environment. So for example, 100% cotton, or using clothes and using, if I'm making an outfit today, I use all my waste fabric and everything that I have to create something else in the future. So there are a lot of high fashion brands. For example, there's Louis Vuitton, there's Missoni. All of these brands have started using these techniques into their daily production and into their high fashion. Like my aunt Lakshmi mentioned, less is more. They use haute couture and they started creating couture in a way that they use all the past collection fabric waste to create something new. So for the person, for the consumer, it's still something new, but it's done in a way that you're saving the environment, you're saving up on resources, the usage of water is low, and also your product cost goes low. So the project that I did when I was in Milan is called Aeon. I can't flip my camera, so I'm just going to show it like this. So basically, this whole project was where, I'll explain it to you first. The whole project is where in six storyboards we had to do a photo shoot that is sustainable. So my concept was euthanasia. This was done in a team. So euthanasia is basically the practice of killing oneself. And the reason people practice euthanasia is because they're suffering through something. So in this project, uh, yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but in this project, in 6 mood boards, we have actually shown how a person, our model is actually the protagonist who goes in 6 mood boards from how they're suffering to how they're set free. And this is shown by wrapping them in plastic. So this is actually a metaphor to show how the earth is suffering from global warming. Um, So the protagonist is wrapped in plastic, and in 6 boards, we show how they break out. They break free to an environment that is open, which is more free, which is more breathable, and which is better for all of us. So this picture was actually published on the Vogue Italy magazine in September 2019. Just one minute. Here. So this is our final picture on how we break free from suffering freedom. And the main point behind this whole shoot was that everything that has been used in the shoot, from clothes to accessories, everything is something that has been thought of from a sustainable approach. For example, the main picture that we use that is published on the magazine, the model is actually wearing a bag, which is a grocery bag. So we've used a grocery bag as a top so that we don't have to spend more on buying fabric and creating something, which is one way of saving up and a way of reusing things. Also, in today's day, thrift fashion is something that is which is coming up a lot. So thrift fashion is basically selling all your used clothes which are in a really good condition, so that you minimize carbon footprint in the environment and wastage of clothing. So if I have a signature piece like a jacket, which I really like, which has been built very well, which has been constructed really nicely, but I've used it a lot. I can put it out for thrift shopping for somebody who might be interested in buying the same thing. So instead of purchasing something from a shop that is fast fashion based, you're saving up on cloth production, you're saving up on money, and you're buying something that has been used for a very long time. So the usage of the cloth also increases, as well as the fact that you're not releasing any sort of carbon footprint to the environment. So I also did another project in collaboration with Diesel, and this project was basically using all their 2018 collection scrap and creating something new out of it. So today, upcycling fashion is also a very big thing, wherein you use all fabric from old collections and you create something new, which follows the current trends. So it's not that it's old fashioned. A lot of people feel like thrifting or renting clothes is old and you don't want to use it. Yeah.
Yes, 1 minute.
Okay. So thrifting clothes,
Wrap up.
a lot of people there are a lot of people who feel like they don't want to wear something that's old, they don't want to wear something that's worn by somebody else. But I think thrifting and upcycling are two best ways to minimize on waste in the environment and help with our current situation, because like my aunt said, less is more. So whatever you have right now, if you use that better, if you reuse your things, and if you save up on production, it's only for us in the future. So I think that's the best way. Sustainable fashion is what is coming up, and everyone should follow it in every way in their daily life, not just in fashion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's something that I love is that she's so young, and she gets this combination of the glamour that means design, and at the same time this commitment with environment, this commitment with a responsible consumption. No, I love that. And I would like to say something related to what you say about fast. And you mentioned one company that is a Spanish company of fashion here in Spain, and I'm sure this is not about being against any company, against any industry. We are just invite them to become sustainable. This company that you say, they are introducing little by little, because it's a slow process and demand investment, demand absolutely new tools, and we are all learning, and it's a slow process. So to get to a slow fashion, there is a slow process for the industry also to be innovative
Yeah, even Zara is doing a line.
is extremely challenging. So, but I'm sure they are doing their best to do it. So thanks so much for invite them from the young leaders that are invite them to continue thriving in their aim for becoming sustainable. Shirley, would you like to say something related that to the young leaders or on how we locate them? You would like to say something, or we continue with the next speaker? We have time. Please unmute if you wanted to say anything.
Well, maybe we get to finish first with everybody, perhaps.
Okay, we do that. So we think a little bit, and we go to Hitendra. Hitendra is a consultant with a huge experience on sustainability. He is from India. He is now, as you know, we are given honor to this tragic situation, and Hitendra is also in a city that is particularly hit by this tragedy. So you are very welcome, and please see this space as your home. You are very much welcome. Please, Hitendra, go ahead.
Namaste, all of you. It's truly an honor and privilege to be invited here today for a discussion on sustainable fashion. Thank you, Mark, for this great opportunity to share perspectives with leaders in fashion and discuss the prospect of creating a better future. I congratulate you for organizing this event. I am in a city called Pune in India, which is the worst hit city in the worst hit country. And as India battles an unprecedented second wave of COVID, 44 governments have committed to helping out India with essential medical requirements. This shows just one thing, and it points to one single thing, which is compassion. That is to look beyond your pains and see the pain of others. And I'm sure if compassion remains, this world will be a much better place and life will be much more beautiful. So I will move on to my topic of sustainable practices and begin with a small poem written by Holly McInish. This poem says, if the girl who made your skirt is not paid, you cannot say it's beautiful. If the pay is less than living wage, you cannot say it is beautiful. If the color dyes now lie in rivers, poisoned fish, polluted waters, if there is no sick pay, no toilet breaks, if the factories are in decay, no matter what your mirror says or how stylish you might look today, you cannot claim it's beautiful. So sustainable fashion basically is a good mix of ethics and aesthetics. Ethical fashion is recognizing the fact that the clothes that you wear, there are human beings behind that. So alternatively termed as eco-fashion, it is a constituent of the evolving design ideas that are based on the trend of sustainability. Its goal is to build a way of doing business that is environment friendly, socially responsible, and can continue go on indefinitely. Now there are three key points that we need to think over. The $2.5 trillion fashion industry is one of the biggest polluters and the second biggest consumer of water. Second, the major issue is that most of the fabrics in cheap garments are synthetics and polyesters, which are derived from oil and petroleum production. And the third is, unlike wool and cotton, synthetic particles don't biodegrade. So when clothes are dumped into a landfill, toxic synthetic fibers pollute water sources. According to the co-secretary of the United Nations Alliance for Sustainable Fashion, fashion is on par to become a quarter of the global footprint of carbon. That's astounding. The industry is not headed in the right direction. The urge to sell more and more, produce more and more, is still the DNA of the industry. Clothes have a short lifespan and end up in a garbage dump. That has to change. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, the $2.5 trillion fashion industry comprises roughly 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, more than all international flights and shipping in total. It is also the second biggest consumer of water globally, enough to meet the needs of 5 million people every year. Now, fast fashion is a major culprit in all these. Large, low-cost global clothing brands are constantly ramping up production and inventory turnover to offer consumers new designs and collections every few weeks rather than every season. As a result, consumers regularly shop for new looks and treat the cheap garments as essentially disposable, throwing them out after no more than 10 wears. So, in practice, what is required is continuous work to improve all stages of the product life cycle, from design to raw materials to manufacture to transport to marketing and final sale to use, reuse, repair, recycle, and remake of the product and its components. From an environmental perspective, the aim should be to minimize any unsustainable environmental effect of the product life cycle by using efficient and careful use of natural resources like water, energy, land, soil, animals, plants, biodiversity, ecosystems, etc. By selecting renewable energy sources, wind and solar, at every stage, maximizing repair, remake, reuse, and recycling of the product and its components. The good news, however, is that the fashion industry has begun to rethink the role and value of the brands, such as Burberry announced that it would end the practice of destroying unsellable products. Timberland decided to source leather from regeneratively grazed cows in the United States as part of efforts to create a sustainable supply chain. Levi's waterless collection uses up to 96% less water, and to date, Levi's has saved 1.8 billion liters of water. I'm sure you all are aware that it takes over 9,000 liters of water just to make one pair of jeans. That is from growing cotton to dyeing and finishing. I have a small case study relating to the Suta brand of sari. Suta is a brand which got its name from two sisters, Sujata and Tanya. SU from Sujata and TA from Tanya made it a brand called Suta. And their first saris were made of muslin and remain bestsellers till date. The rest of their collection too is sustainable with a lot of cotton and other eco-friendly fabrics like silk. Their packaging too is eco-friendly with the plastic that is used is sent for recycling. And the saris come pre-washed using Rita or the soap nut, neem that is margosa, and tulsi, the holy basil. One of the ways in which the sisters have introduced sustainability is by opting for timeless designs as opposed to trends. So what you buy today can be worn several years later or passed on to future generations. Another unique thing about Suta is that each of the products comes with a story and has a unique name. And sometimes people buy just because of the story. I especially taken the case of this sari because fashions may come and fashions may go, but in India, saris will go on forever. I will sign off with my favorite lines from a Robert Frost poem, which says, "The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Thank you. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo, Jitendra. I knew that it would be a fantastic presentation from you. I would like to tell the audience that when we had the meeting to arrange this panel, Jitendra mentioned something that for me was absolutely magical. They say in this COVID-19, we are all in the same boat, but living within a different storm. No, it was a, correct me if I know right. Yeah, this is that.
Right.
And it was so important to see that because sustainability is also about that. We are all in the same boat, but not all the countries, all the companies, all the private sector, the public sector are addressing on the same way. No? That's why it's so important this exchange that we learn from each other. And also it's nothing to attack what is done. It's not to attack the industry of the plastics, it's to attack the plastic in itself and invite and help that companies to reshape themselves. There are very successful case studies. You work with one, but there are the case study of Lego that is all plastics, and they have a huge planning for the next decades. So like I would like to switch on that positive message of hope, that we can make it. Isn't it, Jitendra? Yeah.
I could not get you.
Okay, thank you. So we move forward now. Is anyone would like to say anything related to this? Lakshmi, Shirley, no? Lakshmi, unmute, Lakshmi. Yeah.
Thank you, Jitendra ji, for a wonderful insight on various elements of sustainability in the fashion industry. And I'm anxiously waiting, very eagerly waiting for Winky to talk about the wonderful ethical fashion industry she is from.
Yeah. Absolutely. We were all very enthusiastic, but I don't want to scare her because we have very high expectations. Okay, yeah, no, there. Winky is the. Thank you so much, Jitendra, for your vision. Your contribution is highly appreciated. Thank you for being here, and I hope it would be just the one for many other events that you join us. Winky will introduce herself. Yes, she is also
Thank
in
you,
India.
Mars.
She's president of WICCI India, and she.
I think her connection.
Yes, I don't know whose connection is unstable.
I think it's Mars' connection because we all are moving, but I think Mars is standstill. So yeah, I think she's reconnecting.
Yes.
Maybe Winky, you can go ahead.
Beautiful insight by all the people, not just
Absolutely.
very nice.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, you can be heard now.
Okay. We were a problem. We lose a little bit the internet. Something that is will happening. The face of the.
No issues.
Winky, please go ahead before we lose the connection. I am scared about it.
Thank you so much, first of all, Mar, for having me here. I am honored and blessed to be here on this platform of WICCI. And I would definitely to say my thanks to Dr. Harbeen Arora. I mean, I'll take few seconds to say something about our global president, Dr. Harbeen Arora, that how she has been creating such wonderful platform to empower all the women across the globe, starting with the All Ladies League is like a beautiful, the most amazing networking platform, where I think this is one of the biggest platform on this globally, because where we are networking, and the concept of sisterhood and a soul sister makes it even more special. And then the Women Economic Forum, where we go across the globe and we talk about our idea, we share our energies, and we have been given such beautiful platform. And then She Economy, where it's like one of these first women e-commerce platform, where it's like she's again empowering us through different platform. And now it's Wiki is basically uh, okay, let me just Wiki is basically, I mean, I'm just going to read it because I was quite this thing Wiki drives fundamental changes in the government policies, laws, incentives. Because why I'm reading this, because a lot of people get confused between the charity thing and then this wiki. So no, there is a huge difference between an NGO and wiki. NGO is in a NGO is in a non-government organization. It's nothing to do with the government, where there's people collectively, work towards the betterment of the society, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about wiki is basically is like a drive, going back, drive fundamental changes in the governmental policies, laws, incentives, and entrepreneurial ecosystem, with a view to robustly encourage, empower women in the business industry and commerce across all sector and all field. So why I said this, I think it's very, very important to make this thing clear. Okay, and now I come back to
Sorry, Wiki, if you don't mind, I would like,
sure.
I put all the people on a stage because we have presidents of Wiki, and this from Wiki India and from Hong Kong and from Spain. Maybe the experience are different. We believe in the concept, but also we find obstacles, and it's important for
I'm sorry, you have to repeat it, Mar. I mean, I didn't understand. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can now.
Okay, so as from Spain, Hong Kong, and from India, the experience can be completely different on what is Wiki in terms of culture. It doesn't understand sometimes what it is, and we are in a process to make it something reliable, to make it an organization that the people could be there from a different perspective. That's why it's so important that Lakshmi and Winky teach us, at least from Spain, that there's a lot to learn. I don't know, Shirley, unmute please, Shirley, if you would like to add something to that.
Right, I think you hit the nail on it. WICCI definitely is a catalyst for bringing women from all walks of life and backgrounds together. And I think each
Delhi,
country.
you are not clear. Your voice is not clear. We can't hear
Maybe
you.
we need
It's cracking. Your voice is breaking.
you need headphones. Okay, we go back to Chile. We go back to Chile. Okay, keep that in your mind. So we are going to listen to Winky, and then we make the conversation about what is Wiki and how much we can learn from you from India. Please go ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much for mentioning it.
Thank you so much, Mar, for having me here. First of all, I'll go back to what Lakshmi said, which was like, again, I mean, if I talk in basically like Lakshmi said that, in olden times, like, we used to support like, these ethical fashion and this bespoke garment, where like, all these kings and queens, they supported this slow fashion actually, and then after that, Shirley was also more or less talking about the same thing, that let's, and let's actually promote slow fashion. So fast fashion is basically what is actually creating a, um, uh, okay. And then Vaishnavi also was talking about timeless garment, Sorry, I'm just going a little bit faster. So,
It's perfect. It's
and
perfect.
then we came to, sorry, and then Jitendra also was having these key points where he's again talking like, no to chemicals, switch to natural dyeing, switch to the environment friendly clothing, which is again called ethical, this thing. Okay, and I think I'm not leaving anyone. Basically, in nutshell, uh, what is sustainable fashion? Sustainable fashion and an ethical fashion is an approach towards starting from sourcing to manufacturing and designing clothes which maximizes the benefits to the fashion industry and society at a large, while at the same time minimizing the impact on the environment, right? So uh, I'm sorry, actually, I'm
Don't worry, don't worry. Go
like
ahead.
we should be, everybody is basically, we are all working towards the same, we are talking about the same subject, which is like, let's no to plastic, let's no to synthetics, let's no to chemicals, let's become more environmental friendly, let's introduce more environmental friendly clothes, and let's sorry, I'm a bit nervous, sorry.
No worry, don't worry. You're doing great. Let please. I will unmute all and let her know
Yeah.
how she's doing it. Please, please, all the speakers, they're all unmute. Please tell her that she is wonderful because no, yes, please, Shirley from Hong
So
Kong.
I go back
When
to, I go back in 2000, sometime I think 2003, when I started my business in 2001, and in 2003 I started this movement. Again, say no to plastic. Small examples I'm going to give because I want to share my own experience instead of, because we all know where is the problem. So the say no to plastic was a very small movement. Like, our tailors and my labor used to go and buy these embroidery material from the shop, and they always used to come back with that plastic bag. So finally, I gave them the idea that stitch about 100 to 150 bags. So each one of my person in the factory should have that uh, fabric bag. So whenever you go, you carry your own bag. So there is no to plastic. A small movement again. Second time, I think in 2007, because, I was unknowingly, as I said earlier also, I was unknowingly supporting this slow fashion. I was never ever a fan of a fast fashion. So I called up about 65 of my clients personally, and I asked them, I said, can you just look into your wardrobe and can you just tell me the garments which you have in your wardrobe, how many times you have worn all these garments? So over weeks, I started getting calls, and I wrote like a thesis about it, like the experience about every person, how they came up with the idea, like, that how they came up with their answers. Some of them said that they haven't even worn some of the garments in the wardrobe, not even once. So then I started this exercise with them. I said, you know what? Let's just, and I'm going back in 2007. I said, just bring all your old wardrobe and let's recycle your garments. Let's recycle and refresh your collection in the wardrobe. Instead of having more, let's recycle them. So that's what I did it in 2007. And then end of 2007, I remember clearly going to Berlin in Germany and participating in one of this garment fair, where I carried a collection which I named that time in 2007 organic collection. And I remember it was like something very weird for people to know. A lot of people came to me asking, Winky, we have never heard, like, what is this organic collection? We have heard about organic food, but we have never heard about this organic collection. Like garments, the fashion garments are organic. And I explain it to them that I have used all the natural dyes, and then they're all chemical free, and et cetera, et cetera. And in 2009, when I went back, I saw almost maybe more than 20, 25 designers were having this organic collection. So I think, each one of us are taking the step forward, even if we are contributing a small bit towards improving and to contributing to the planet, to the environment. And as Mar said, rightly said, that get to slow fashion also is a slow process. So, and Jitendra just said that, so many of the designers, they are making these movements, all these top designer, because these are our icons, and we learn from them, we follow them, we look up to them, I think. So they have already started the movements, like, these, the slow fashion, say no to plastic, and things like that. And when it comes to ethical fashion, we talk about the labor laws, like the fair wages also comes under ethical fashion. Child labor also comes under ethical fashion. So where it used to be earlier fair wages, now it's called living wages. Living wages, how do we measure living wages? Wages we measure accordingly, like, one person is earning in the family, and there are four people in the family. So, how much calories one person requires? So, what should be the nutritious diet for one person, and one earning member is supporting the four people? So, these are the measure we take when we talk about the uh, living wages. So, all these things, people are definitely moving forward, stepping forward to bring the change in the environment, in the planet. And I think, I appreciate the designers who are already working on it. And um, I think, I'm happy with the result, of course. As again, go back to Mar's statement, it's slow fashion will take slow steps, but of course, like Vaishnavi said, let's use the social media, to social campaigns to create the awareness. So I think we are all trying to do our bit, and let's continue to do that, actually. So that's what is my basically nutshell, actually, that let's support slow fashion. Let's say no to plastic. Let's say no to the chemical dyes. Let's no to the child labor. Let's support the fair wages call slash living wages, and things like that, I think. And of course, like, there is rightly somebody has said that to to bring the change, we should become the change. So each one of us has to contribute our bit. Like, wherever you see people are using these chemicals in the fashion industry, since we are talking about sustainable fashion, so our responsibility is basically to work towards it. So wherever you feel, wherever you see someone actually going against the environment and creating these poison in the environment, I think we can always take the small steps, to contribute. So, and the change will be there. It has already started from ages ago, but it's a slow process. It will take time, but as long as we are supporting, and we all are moving in one direction, and we are supporting ethical fashion, I think the change will be there. There is no second thought to it. We have already changed. We have already brought the change from, I mean, if I go back 20 years, like, when I started my business 20 years ago, and to now, I don't even remember people used to even talk about these sustainable fashion, ethical fashion. It was like in the books, actually, or maybe some of the designers were talking, but not the normal people who are even running the small boutique, the small enterprise, are also taking the small step towards ethical fashion, sustainable fashion, I think. So Vaishnavi said very rightly, let's use these campaigns. Everybody should, come up with their own idea, and it's a collective effort actually. Not one person cannot move the mountains, so it has to be a collective effort, and it has to be a continuous effort. So that's what I actually say in a nutshell actually, and work with the artisans, work with the tribals, contribute towards the society, and encourage them, and uh, bring them, appreciate their art is also part of ethical fashion. When you're helping the people who are like forgotten population somewhere, and they have the art, and the designer, actually they are already doing a lot, but I'm still encouraging more and more and more people to kind of to encourage the art which is with the artisans, work with the underprivileged people, train them with a different set of skills and things like that, and it's all come under ethical fashion. And of course, when it comes to a sustainable fashion and a sustainability, I think, and recycling, recycle your garment, like I'm working with the prisoners, so from the very beginning, the women prisoner I'm talking about, I never taught them to work with these fast fashion. Like, I tell them to create one garment, take 3 days to create one garment. And my capes have been called super cape for a woman. Like, you just have to have some classic garments in your wardrobe, accessorize yourself, with the same garment, and then uh, same garment can be worn multiple times with the, I think, Lakshmi also said very nicely that, you wear a scarf, you wear something, you accessorize yourself. And similarly, my dear friend from Hong Kong, a designer, also said the same thing, accessorize yourself. And then it's called like minimalistic is the new trend actually. Have less, having less is the new trend actually. You don't need to have more, you don't need to fill your wardrobe, and you don't need to go and buy every week or every 10 days to a new garment to have a new look. So for that matter, I think I would actually eventually, or maybe I'm doing it now, to request or write to these top designer that even in this these sort of award ceremonies, like you Grammy award and these cans, these people should also talk about sustainability. They should also wear a garment which have been, like Jatinder rightly said, there has to be a human touch. So all these top people who are these celebrities, they should also come forward. There are many who are like stepping forward, but I think we need more icons to step forward and support sustainable fashion. Because every time if you see these celebrities wearing every time in Cannes, if you go, I mean, if you watch them, they are wearing different gowns. Why can't we get into this recycling thing? Why can't we promote this slow fashion thing with these people also? So it's again, it's a slow process, so it is going to take time, but I'm sure once the movement has started from 360-degree, it will, there is going to be a change. So as I said, it's a collective effort. Everybody should contribute towards it, instead of seminars like this, the webinars like this, like Mar has organized, like today this webinar. So webinars like this makes a huge difference. Even if there's small set of people are listening, they will talk to other. So the seed has to go in. So when you put the seed in, it becomes a tree eventually. The seed is not going to grow over 10 days or 20 days. It's from seed to grow into a tree, it also is a process. So I think let's create this movement. Let's make the effort, each one of us who are on this dais today. Let's make the effort from today onwards. Let's take the oath that we will at least put our 100% to stop this fast fashion, to minimize people who are trying to poison the environment, and say no to the chemicals and so on and so forth. So we have to promise to ourselves to bring the change, because if everybody will say, the icons or those people will do, so our voice should be reaching to these people, then only the change will come, because we all look up to them. We all scroll Vogue and magazines like that, and we check, oh my God, she's wearing this. So we must send our message across to these icons that they should also get into the habit of recycling their attire every time. Why are they promoting new attire? Why are they creating new attire? Why can't they come up with the agenda, like, that this person is wearing a garment from the previous collection, and yet looking fresh and new and accessorized little bit, I think. So all these steps, I think we collectively need to take. Basically, that's all I think I have to say, actually. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Winky.
Thank you.
You will all understand why we were very much looking forward to listen to Winky. She is exactly at what you see, with that sensibility, with that charm. She is always like that. And the one of the main reason that she is here is because she encompassed her personal life with her wishes and with her company and with her social commitment. She's aligned with her values, and she put it in practice on what means her work and what means also the social responsibility that she took as president of National Jail Reforms, working with prisoners in fashion. That's why there's so much we can learn from her and from WICCI India. I would love, but I'm just a facilitator of this process, and so you will decide. You as speakers have the power to do it. So if you wanted to say anything related to WICCI, anything you would like to say, 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever you need, something that you think is important to highlight or to discuss. And from my side, I will tell you what is my wish, that we could learn from WICCI India, or what we can do for countries as Spain that we have just started, that we face many obstacles, especially at cultural level, of what we
But you're doing wonderful, Mar. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but you're doing wonderful. I keep checking your Facebook. My goodness, the amount of effort and the compassion you have for WICCI and for all the platforms which you are promoting right now under Dr. Harbeen Arora is commendable. I must say that. You have been putting your effort for the last 1 week. It's not a joke. Sleepless nights. So thank you so much, actually. Thank you.
Thanks so much to you, WICCI, for your generous, always extremely generous comments. But I don't want others to think that I bring you for that, to say that. I don't want anyone.
No. I know that, but I
bring you for that. And so no, but it's truly important. I'm sure Shirley. We have talked with Shirley. Hong Kong is a different reality, but we also face a challenge different. I face the challenge of cultural. What is this? What you have started, WICCI, that I really appreciate it. It's a chamber, it's charity. Why you can influence policies? Well, whenever we have a very strong team of experts, but why the people would like to do this voluntary work? And that is the first burden that we face. Voluntary work is not volunteering for 1 hour. Voluntary work, what is it? It means that we don't have and also for the difference of hours, we are doing crazy. We work at 3 o'clock in the morning, where we have lost a little bit our minds, isn't it, Shirley? So please, I will unmute. All of you are unmute. Yes, they are all unmute. So please highlight whatever you wanted, and then we could say that we are running out of time, but we allow ourselves and our audience to continue listening to us. Please go ahead. I don't know, Lakshmi, Shirley was the one who wanted to start. Shirley, please go ahead.
Yes, if you don't mind, because my computer is running out of juice and I may have to go on with the phone. But I really applaud everyone for all your input and your hearts in this very important journey of really educating the world. Winky, you hit the nail on the head. We have learned for decades now how to improve our nutrition, how to go organic, and making sure that we farm, with local farmers, we consume food from, our neighbors and all that, just to reduce our carbon footprint. And Hitendra, you were talking about the pollutants and all the toxins, right? Like earlier, I mentioned how in my own research, I knew that a lot of times when a label says it's linen, it's really not linen. It's really not real cotton. And every time we wash, the poly fibers, we're releasing microplastics into the ocean. And we now know that a lot of marine life is carrying these micro pieces of plastic. We're ingesting them. So I think the whole puzzle has to do with not only do we look at how like the anti-fur movement has succeeded over time, and we want to catalyze that change faster, with the power of social media, like with Clubhouse, for example, a powerful platform right now. Just on Clubhouse, we can talk about what we know and really spread the word. And on the other hand, I think instead of just having celebrities or working with education institutions, doing musicals to teach our young about fashion, right? We also should be talking about the fear part, because a lot of times people only make fast changes when they have this big fear factor. They're not going to talk about the peachy stuff like the empathy and the compassion. That is the minority, unfortunately, not the majority of the cases. For the majority, fear somehow is a more powerful motivator. So how can all the marketers, all the copywriters, right? When we have, like for example, tonight we were supposed to all hold up, right, our slogan or our statement about sustainable fashion. How can we, in our own campaign, in our own language, our verbiage, instill this urgency of change, within the people we affect, whether it's in my case with my Hong Kong Wiki members or with educators or whoever. So I think it's just a two-part, a binary, track. We both have to attract. We also have to really alarm people of the importance of this matter.
Thank you, Sheila. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Shirley. Very nice. Great insight, actually. It's beautiful. Rightly said. Yeah, Lakshmi, anything from your side? Or Jitendra?
Mute.
Yes. Mar, honestly, when we were talking about Wiki, Wiki actually operates on a multicultural platform. So as you said, each country it comes with its own beautiful cultures, So end of the day, Wiki in India, the primary work or the primary mandate of Wiki is to basically influence the policy makers around various aspects. We have over 150 sectors, like for example prison reforms, which Wiki is leading, and there is diversity and inclusion, there is hospitality consulting. So similarly, when it's Wiki India, this bilateral unit, it's basically it's a cultural exchange platform. It's basically to increase trade between people. When trade increases, automatically it also kind of the dynamics of culture also takes place. There's a huge exchange of culture between India and Spain. It's already there. Wiki is doing its bit, to bring the millennials, the new generation people into the fold of Wiki, so that business increases between these two nations. As business increases, I think there is always a language which gets into the forefront. The clothing which you're talking about gets into the forefront. The accessorizing comes into the forefront. The ethics, the cultural, impacts and footprints that it leaves on the two-way process between India and Spain, India and Hong Kong. Although we do have ancient relationships, I think Wiki is a new age influencer in that respect. And I think it's beautiful. For example, this very program that you have organized, this webinar, Sustainable Fashion, and here we are people from 3 countries, hacking it, discussing it, giving our points of view. And I think it's not just going to stop at this. We're going to carry it forward beyond just an hour and a half webinar. Like, I would completely agree with Shirley when she says that the consciousness, the mindful living is just a very, very small percentage of the masses. So how do we take it forward? I think one quick way off the cuff, my solution would be to include it, at the basic education level, schools and other institutions. The young, are far more receptive to something which is true, and they're far more adaptable. It's very difficult to change the mind of a person who believes in fast fashion. I need to wear different clothes every day. It's so difficult, to change. I'm just quoting, I'm just taking myself as an example. But whereas when we bring it into the curriculums within the schools and the colleges and various other management schools, so then we start internalizing this process. So where we bring in the environmentalists, we bring in various other aspects of the chemical issues, the doctors, and other influences. Like as Winky said, yeah, people, we could request influencer A going to a global, awards function. Why don't you repeat something which you wore a decade ago? Why don't you repeat that? So that's going to really make a huge difference. I guess it's a long process. It's a slow process, slow fashion and slow process. But well, it has started somewhere. The process has begun, so it will take its own natural, evolution. And I think we are there. We are getting there at the beginning of the process. And good to be part of that. And there is a future when millennials like Vaishnavi are talking in terms of sustainable fashion. I think the future is bright. If youngsters at age 22 and 23 can think and process and talk about it and practice it within their own professional areas, I think I'm very optimistic about.
Like I just want to give up one small example, like our Bollywood celebrity, like Diya Mirza. She's one of the famous actress. She got married a couple of months ago. Her entire wedding was eco wedding. Eco wedding. You know, everything was used from, starting from the wood to everything is natural. So she said, I am the one person. So people like these, because what happens is, even the young generation, people like us, we all look up to them somewhere down the line, whether we say it in directly or we don't say it. They influence us, their lifestyle, their everything. And then if they start creating some sort of a change, the change happens on every level, especially on these youngsters, so that's it.
Thank you both. What Lakshmi have said, and you, Winky, with that wonderful example, it's that the challenge to implement a global initiative. To be sustainable is global, and when you say global, means that it's not just one. It's totally diverse and have to be adapted to each needs, not only cultural but also individual needs. So the problem may be, from the example that you put, actually, of the people wanting to change their clothes every day. Maybe if they are sustainable clothes, it doesn't matter. It's their option they wanted to buy every day, because we need to be certain of what we're talking about. We need to talk about sustainability, and the people have to reduce the consumption. Is true, but they have to adapt it to their own needs. We are going to be more popular in our proposal if we adapt it to it. Also when the people see design, the people see that they don't have to lose the mood, they don't have to lose design. It's just more creativity than before. So that is the best way to sell it and to be an influence from my side. Hitendra, you were trying to say something, I think so, isn't it?
Okay, what I just wanted to say that in America there is a concept of free trade certification. So when a company is free trade certified, fair trade, sorry, not free trade, fair trade certified, then it implies that they have met all the conditions for a sustainable fashion. I mean, they have complied with the processes and manufacturing and all the areas in a sustainable manner. Similarly, This should be there in all the countries, according to me. And in India, like we have the Clothing Manufacturers Association of India, then the Apparel Export Promotion Council, they should take it up with the government. Even WICCI India can take it up with the government to introduce something like the fair trade certification. And then all garment exporters, manufacturers, they will have to obtain that. It will become mandatory. And so they will have to comply with all the regulations relating to sustainable fashion. That is, I think, the need of the hour, that certification, fair trade certificate. Otherwise,
Yes, excellent
it's
point, actually. Very good point. That we can take a
and
support from like as because since we are a part of WICCI, so WICCI is something which work with the government. We
government,
can
yes,
change. Yes, we can bring the
yes, you
change
can
into
take.
the policies. Like I made a very small change. It's just not printed yet. Like when I started working inside the prison. So after I finished the training with them, I started giving them the employment while they are inside. So when I'm giving the wages, so initially they were saying that our 50% goes to the development charges for the prison and 50% will go to the inmate. And then there I put my foot down. There I actually showed my card as WICCI that look, I definitely want to bring the change in the policy. Why, where the government is supporting the prison, why do you need people who are doing a volunteer work? You need to cut 50% and get it, put it in the development charges. So then I think the change, it was a change into 80% will go to the inmate and 20% will go to the for the development charges, and then now it's 10%. It has reduced to 10%. So they charge 10% for the development charges inside. They keep it for their own thing, and 90% goes to the inmate. So that change I could bring because I could say that look, I'm part of WICCI and I'm here to work to bring the change with the policies and things like that. So this is like a very small example I'm giving, but it's there. We
Absolutely,
can
and
we can do that, like Sindra said. It is
no
absolutely.
individual, no individual can take up such issues. Actually, it is only the
Yeah.
forums like yours, WICCI or APC
Yes.
or the CMAI. They have to be very aggressive in this, and these are very radical changes, and they will have to be brought in very fast because, like the song goes, because everything you do comes back in time to you, and we have to make our fate before it gets too late. So we are already UN statistics is already very alarming if you go by the United Nations Environment Program.
Yeah,
you
because
see,
nature has its own way to take revenge from us if we will not save the planet. So we have to do something aggressively. What he said. Yes.
you see how important it is that WICCI keeps their independence from politics, from religion, and because the people will not take it reliable. It makes mixed with the political sector. No, that is a challenge here in Spain, and that's why we are going to be cautious and going step by step, trying to show where we are and to present their reliability from their independence. That is why it's so important your contribution here to show what we are and contribute maybe with countries that they are more consolidated in WICCI as with Hong Kong, but also they are facing challenge. We live in a world politically that moves politically, so sustainability is also a political issue. I know that's crazy because we are talking about education, we are talking about culture, we are talking about influence, we are talking about keeping the world alive, the planet alive, but it's this toxic element of it could be more polluted than the own production of the fast fashion. So please, do you want to add anything? I will give you all. I will say 1 minute, but you could say whatever you want. So you're free. This is your space for India, for the situation that they are living, for sustainable fashion or whatever you wanted to leave today. That I am extremely grateful that despite all the challenge, you are here supporting us, and with great presentation that all have done. Please go ahead. Winky, Lakshmi, Hitendra,
No,
Shri,
I think
I
I
think
just have a
Lakshmi,
humble
Lakshmi.
request that we are six of us today on this dais. So let's actually take a responsibility that each one of us are not just going to go from here without having a commitment with yourself that what are the steps you are going to take. Like in terms of each one of us at least should take one responsibility that look, this is the area where I am going to bring the change. So I think, I mean, that's what I feel. What do you say, Lakshmi?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. Nothing like making personal commitments. We need to
Yeah.
live our live. We should walk our talk. So
Yes,
I guess
walk the talk.
you're asking me.
Walk
You want the
Yeah,
skin on the table? Yes. I think I
yeah,
will wear clothes only after understanding where it comes from. Who are the people who made these clothes and what is the fair wage that's gone to them. So
excellent.
probably I
And
think that's one small baby step in moving
very
into
good,
a brighter
excellent.
future.
Yeah.
Very good. And
And
Shirley, what is your commitment? I mean, it's like a heavy duty word, but I'm just using it. What is your commitment? How do you commit yourself to this, to bring the change?
For me, it's
Like
very
one
simple.
commitment.
Yes, for me, it's very
Nicely.
simple. Besides myself practicing that, because I work with children and youth primarily. So in our weekly sessions, I do all kinds of empowerment
Excellent.
modules. So I'm going to use a lot of videos and messaging to put into the subconscious that one small person can make a difference. And the difference is in their consciousness, in that little voice inside of their head. Because they're going to go out and tell their mummies and daddies and their grandmas and grandpas, no, 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 I don't want this. And as you guys talked about, nowadays it's the children who tell the parents what they want, and the parents will cater to them. So I think my practical part would be just to work on them, let them see all the damages that fast fashion has been doing, and just really have honest discussions with them and just igniting their consciousness in that regard.
Very nice. I like it. And Jatinder, sorry, I'm asking you, but because I also want to take that commitment with me today that what I am going to do, like how do
Actually,
I become more?
I am not into this garment business exactly. Neither am
No,
I
it's not
practicing
about
nor.
that you are in the business or not, but how
Yes,
will you
but
bring the change in terms of a
yes, I can only talk to people and convince them about the sustainability. Sustainability. These two
so do
words
you
are more
support
important.
when it comes to your wardrobe, do you really support the same way like
Yes,
what
yes,
we are talking?
I do. Yes, I do. But still, there are many things like the
Or
saris
you
which
on every
wear in
wedding,
the.
maybe you buy a new garment.
Yes.
I hope you don't do
No,
that.
no, I. But like my daughter purchases and she has not used I think more than once or twice. Very costly
Yeah.
saris. I think you maybe know in
I think
Chennai.
Mar
So
is saying that we have another session in 5 minutes. So my commitment is I will wear every garment
that
at
was
least 30
me.
times. No,
Winky,
no,
I
I
think
will
Mark has
wear.
the time. I have to leave in 5 minutes.
Okay, okay, you said it. I thought Mar has a meeting, maybe the next session. Okay.
I think
I
Mark,
will
can
wear
I
every
can I
garment
excuse
minimum
my
30 times. That's my commitment.
you one moment, please?
yes,
Mar,
Gloria. Yeah.
is it okay if I leave now? I have to step into another meeting.
It will be
No, no, I
okay.
think we are all actually, this is the last bit of the program.
Listen,
So,
we are going to leave all of us in 5 minutes.
yeah,
Okay.
We are. We need to do this wrap up. I think it was
yes.
a fantastic panel. I leave this in my heart, and the best thing I would like to highlight is that when you do things voluntary from your heart, don't have to be without professionalism, because that's the idea, that is voluntary. And we use our profession when we are in a professional profile. When we are wiki, we are also professional. Because we are the same people taking a different commitment. So I think that we live in a world that needs solidarity beyond any politics, beyond any religions. and to make an extra effort to what I like to say institutionalize solidarity. That solidarity is not just for good people that have nothing to do, but for people who are very busy and try to keep, as you are doing it, keep 1 hour of your time this week and all the preparation during a very striking emergency that you are living in India. And so I am deeply grateful for you. I embrace you all from Spain, from being here. This is the this, I really wish and I think we are all going to pray or send energy or whatever you believe, but do it to India to keep that strength and transmit that. I hope this is just the first conversation on sustainable fashion. You are kindly invited for the second one. Like we will see when we are going to do it, but it will be there. Thank you all for
Thank
being here.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Lovely
very much.
pleasure meeting you, and we were happy to
Thank
be
you
here.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Mar. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This is an online wave and hug. This is a combination of
Yeah.
I
yeah,
receive
and
it and I
celebration.
reciprocate.
Okay, I'm going to just
Thank
show.
you.
I'm just going
Thank
to show
you.
this real quick before I leave. So here we go.
Bye. Oh, nice. Okay,
Oops.
lovely.
Make fashion conscionable.
Okay.